Hey English Comp students, thank you for your patience with me as I got this video together this week. I'm looking forward to reading your comparison contrast essays. Hopefully everyone turned those in Sunday night. Before I started today's lecture, I did want to briefly talk about your grades. I did put a weighted total of your grades on Blackboard. So there should be a column showing up in your grade book on Blackboard that will tell you your current grade in your in the class. I think that this is a pretty accurate reflection of your grade so far based on your first two essays and the amount of homework that you've done. Now that is to say that I have not graded all of your homework, and so this still is not a 100% correct grade, but I, as your instructor, ensure you that this is an accurate reflection of the grade you're making so far. Now, if you're not satisfied with that grade, the good news is we've still got a lot of grades coming up. Your fourth and fifth essays are both worth more percentage-wise than any have been, so you may want to go back and look at your percentage of your grades. And then, of course, again, if you've been faithful in your MindTap exercises, those grades should continue to go up and up. I had to drop several low grades to start out with because in my Blackboard grade book, they're still showing up as zeros on my end because I haven't graded them. And so all you're seeing on your end are the graded MindTap exercises, but on my end, MindTap is still Blackboard, is still calculating the total of your grades. And so that's why I went ahead and dropped, I believe it was 10 MindTap exercises, just so that I could get an accurate reflection of your grade. I know this is a little confusing, and please just bear with me as I work with MindTap for the first time. This is my first time to use it, and so I'm still just having trouble clearly communicating your grades. Many of you have expressed concern for your grades just based on the zeros that you've seen in MindTap. So please let me know if this helps you or if you're still a little worried about your grade. And I can kind of let you know what I'm seeing on my end, and we can work towards better grades in your next couple of essays. But all in all, I feel like these weighted totals that have shown up on your grade book should be a pretty good reflection of what you're making in the class so far. So I hope that helps. I hope that helps you kind of know where you are mid-semester, and I hope it also gives you some motivation to continue working hard as we hit these last three major essays. So let me know if you still have questions, and then just know that I'm trying to grade as quickly as possible, and I'll get you as best a reflection of your grade as I can. Okay, so with that out of the way, I did also want to go ahead and talk about definition in this video. I'm going to see how far I get. I have a feeling that I'm going to have to make another video that introduces essay number 4. So you may have 2 videos to watch this week, but we'll just see how I do on time. Okay, so your outline of Chapter 15, remember that I changed it to Chapter 15. We're not doing process, we're going to do definition. So your outline of Chapter 15, this is just a basic outline to let you know how your book presents definition. The first 2 words you need to know are the difference between formal definitions and extended definitions. That would just be a formal definition would be, 1 to 2 sentences from a dictionary that defines a word. An extended definition is going to be what we're writing, which is a longer, more descriptive and complete definition of a word that goes into some of the different nuances of that word, which we'll get to here in just a minute. Simply put, definition simply means term X equals explanation Y, which, yeah, it's pretty straightforward. In the rhetorical situation for this essay, you're going to need to be sure to think about the purpose of this essay. Why define this word? Which of course will make more sense when we get to the actual assignment sheet. But you're going to have to be thinking, why should I define this word? What makes it worthwhile? What makes it interesting? You should, of course, always think about your readers and think about who you're writing to. Are you writing to the American public? Are you writing to your peers? Are you writing to your family? Think about your readers. And of course, think about your topic. This paper is actually going to be fairly short, and so you're going to have to really narrow down your topic and not try to give us the whole definition and every definition of this word. We're only looking for one focused definition. Some things that you'll want to think about, these principles of definition. These are going to be really important. These are going to be things that you're going to want to use within your definition essay. The first would be denotation versus connotation versus the etymology of the word. And your book explains this on page 236. Very simply, denotation I always think is the dictionary definition of a word. Connotation would be the suggested meaning of a word, the meaning that we can get out of a word. So the example here on my note sheet is very simple, but it gets the point across that Bobby wore a blue shirt today. That's the literal definition, dictionary definition of blue, is that it's a color. But the connotation of the word blue could mean someone's feelings or emotions. So the connotation could be Bobby was blue after his dog died. So this could be an example of the difference between a denotation of a word and a connotation. So you'll want to keep that in mind as you define your own word, and think about how someone may be reading the word differently than just the dictionary definition. A second principle that you'll want to carry out in your own essay is using accurate, authoritative sources. This means that we don't go to dictionary.com to get our definition of a word. This means we don't go to Wikipedia to get our dictionary or to get our definition of a word. We want to go somewhere that is reliable, something that's possibly in print, something that is current. So we want to be sure and use authoritative sources. Oh, I just realized I skipped over etymology just because denotation and connotation go so hand in hand together. But then the etymology would just be tracing the roots of the word back and seeing what the word originally meant and looking at its historical meaning. Okay, sorry that I skipped that. One thing that's going to be really important as you write a definition is going to be your transitions, making sure this really comes in handy when you're doing a longer essay and you're going into a definition and then you're going out of the definition. But for us, we're sticking with one extended definition, but transitions could still be helpful as you move from, say, denotation to connotation, or as you move from an example to a quote. And so do keep your transitional words in mind, especially in our case, as you'll see in a minute, that our paper is going to be really short, so you're going to have to transition from one thing to another pretty quickly. Avoiding logical fallacies. You may want to look up those logical fallacies that could be a problem in this essay, especially, I would say, oversimplification. You'll really want to take into account all the meanings of the word and make sure that your reader knows that you're not oversimplifying, you're simply focusing on a certain definition of the word. Just make sure that you sound intelligent in that and that we know you're not ignoring the many facets of a word. So you may want to take a look at the rest of those logical fallacies as well. So these principles can be a good way to start as you start looking at your definition essay. However, I had a couple of more notes that I wanted to give you. So I'm skipping over reading definitions. That's just some questions to help you when you think about definition essays. But I wanted to get to my notes on definition that hopefully will give you a little bit more direction as well on how to write your definition. Again, I deal with the difference between formal definitions and extended definitions. So these are just my definitions here. And so to me, a definition is going to tell us what a term means and how it differs from other terms. That's important. How is it different from other words that are similar? So, formal, extended, you can read those definitions. Planning your essay, some things you want to think about is making it clear to the readers the larger purpose for why you're defining this term. Again, I discussed in the other section of your notes. However, these patterns of development is what I really wanted to get at right now. So these are just things that I want you to use in your definition, which are basically different modes of writing that we've already maybe even used, like cause and effect, comparison, contrast. Those are two things that you know how to write and how to write well. So can you use that to define your term? Can you classify and divide your term into a specific class or idea? Can you use description? Can you use examples? So these are the things that I want you to think about as you start thinking about how you'll define your term. So I really wanted to point out those patterns of development. I also wanted to talk about, I know I'm skipping over a lot of my notes here, but I did want to talk about these words as well. These are also going to be good ways to extend your definition. Can you give synonyms of the word? Can you give negation, which basically just means what is the word not? So a leader is not a follower. I know that's a silly example, but negation would be telling us what the word is not. Enumeration would be listing all the characteristics of the word. Analogy would be comparing the word to something else. Origin and development, of course, would be giving background. And then we've got, also you could include a visual. That would not be a part of the page count, but if you'd like to include a visual, I'd love for you to, just for the reader to get a whole sense of your word. Also, on this note, when you're looking at these different ways to give detail to your definition, I also want to point you to page 140 of your book. On page 140, your book gives you some ways to describe things, and I think this could be helpful in definition. Particularly in the middle of the page, it says, using simile, metaphor, or personification. These three things could greatly help you as you work on defining your term. Okay, I'm almost out of time, but I do have these helpful hints down here as well that I want you to read over, and I'll check back with you in my next video, see if you're understanding these, and I will introduce you to your essay number 4, which I think will help you understand it even better. Okay, so I'll see you in the next video.